Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Treeberry Memorial Library, and welcome back to Fandom Fridays. As you know, we're nearing the end of Sweet Tasted Cake, and for chapters 16 and 15, it's going to be some of the most emotionally hard-hitting chapters I'm going to ever experience in my entire life. Yes, it's going to be more heart-wrenching than My Little Dashi or anything you might have heard from some of the other people. The only things that are going to come close to it are the death sequences on Fallen Equestria. But I figured the best way to handle it and to practice my own emotions would be to read a fic that probably will hurt me just as bad. So, join us as today on Fandom Fridays, the Treeberry Memorial Library Bookstore is proud to present Take Care. Take Care by Jet Wolf, a Sailor Moon fanfic. Please also visit Fangirling and Kia Nick at Tumblr.com. It had to be perfect. Mako couldn't let anything escape her notice. Not today. She wiped the cloth over her nightstand again. This was at least the third or fourth time she dusted. Who cared about keeping count? But that was okay. It was unlikely that anyone would be coming back to her bedroom either. Or if they did, they wouldn't care. That was okay too. Mako needed to know it was clean. If Mako knew, then they would know too. And they needed to know. Her friends liked to laugh about her devotion to keeping things clean and tidy. It was a compulsion, she knew. Ray barely let her in the kitchen anymore without supervision. Minako didn't even try to be subtle about inviting her over once a month or so, then sitting back while her room magically transformed from a pigsty to an acceptable living space. Mako didn't mind, and Minako always brought lunch after, because that was part of how she knew to took care of people. More, it meant she was taking care of herself. Today, more than any other day, she had to show that she could take care of herself. For them. Her eternal clock was nudging her to check on dinner. So Mako dusted the frame of her futon one final time, then considered her bedroom done. For now, again. Dinner couldn't possibly have burned yet. Still 2 hours at 200 degrees. Then it was time to start the sides. But still, a knot of panic clenched itself into existence until her nose caught the delicious aromas wafting down the hall. Good. That was good. To have ruined it. Mako shook her head. She wouldn't ruin it. It was simple as that. Her eyes fell on the photograph hanging on the wall opposite the hallway. It greeted her as it always did, here in the heart of her apartment. It said hello every morning. It wished her pleasant dreams every night. It saw her dash past as she was late for school and welcomed her home when lightning and bruises kept her out late. As they so often did, Mako's fingers gently brushed the 3 smiling faces. 2 ghosts, and 1 little girl who would forget how to smile for a while. We will regret to inform you. Poor visibility on approach. No survivors. More ghosts. Mako had been expecting them. They visited less often, but never missed a day. Her fingers trailed out the edge of the frame as she entered her kitchen. It was huge, and the apartment ceiling royally, but it felt claustrophobic with just her and her whispering ghosts. Mako checked the beef, basted it, and tried to remember how to breathe. Inhale, exhale, blink faster. She couldn't. Not yet. Not alone. Not this year. They wouldn't have wanted that. Neither did she. The doorbell rang, and Mako's saintly jaw nearly sobbed then and there with gratitude. She slid back the rack and closed the oven, then used a few steps to the front door to wipe her eyes with the heel of her hands. She opened the door and immediately felt the embrace of Ami's kind, blue eyes. It drifted over her and through her, calm and soothing, as she felt the ghost fade. "I'm early," Ami said, and her smile was an apology. Mako shook her head and grabbed Ami's hand. "You're right on time," she replied, and never had been more sincere. Ami wanted to help, and while Mako had finished all possible preparations several times over, together they unnecessarily straightened the living room. Ami hovered near and followed Mako's lead. They didn't say much. It was so much better than the voices. The doorbell rang again, and as Ami needlessly rotated a flower pot, before it turned to the left, Mako answered it. "Mako-san!" Usagi wailed the very instant the door was open. She flung herself around Mako, enveloping her in a cloak of love and tears. Mako felt her throat constrict and the inside of her nose prickle. She sniffed and swallowed hard, refused to yield, even as her voice crackled on Usagi's name. She couldn't cry yet, so Usagi did it for her. After a moment, Usagi pulled it back up to gaze into Mako's face, though she almost certainly couldn't see it properly to her tears. "We love you, Mako-chan," she said, like it was the last true thing in the universe. "We love you so much." "I know," was what Mako meant to say. All she trusted herself to do was smile and nod. This was Usagi, though, and that was enough. "What can I do?" Usagi asked. What could she do? Oh, this girl. The girl who'd done everything. Help me peel potatoes?" Usagi's response was instantaneous and enthusiastic. Ami giggled and followed them. Mako plucked the knife from Usagi's hands, gave it to Ami, and replaced it with a vegetable peeler. The same had been done for her more than once, in a kitchen much like this. The memory made her heart swell rather than shatter. She didn't need potatoes peeled, but nobody needed to know that. The doorbell rang again, 3 times rapidly, followed by incessant knocking. No question who had arrived, and Mako felt her lips curve in the happiest smile yet. "Hi! I hope nobody started the party without me." She paused and tapped her chin thoughtfully. "What am I saying? I am the party." "Mako-san! I'm peeling potatoes!" called Usagi from the kitchen, like she was being nuzzled by 1,000 kittens. Minako gasped dramatically and put her hand over her heart. "Potatoes, Mako-chan!" Her voice dripped with the pain of betrayal. "Without me?" The best defense Mako could muster was to roll her eyes. Then she felt a hand on her arm. Minako was watching her intently, waiting. Mako squeezed Minako's hand and smiled gratefully, granting permission. Laughing wouldn't come easily today, but with Minako there would be no such shortage of opportunities to try. It surprised Mako to realize how much that meant. Minako squeezed back and lingered for just a moment, then marched into the kitchen and gasped at all the naked potato indecency. Sounds of laughter, sounds of family, poured from the kitchen. Minako's leering, Ami's stuttered protests, Usagi's squeals. They filled Mako, rounding the edges where she was jagged and broken. She felt her jaw tremble, but fought to hold on. Today, of all days, Mako needed to be complete, and there was still something missing. She heard the clock in the kitchen begin to sound the hour, and a knock on the door immediately followed, precisely on time, of course. Mako opened the door for Ray and gestured her inside. Ray said nothing as Mako closed the door, simply watched with her intense eyes. The door clicked closed, and then they were standing before each other. Mako was about to offer Ray a drink or a snack, anything to break the tension in this moment. But suddenly, Ray's arms were around her. It was a warm hug. A familiar hug. Mako's gut twisted. Feelings of love and protection threatened to sweep her away, as she clung to Ray desperately. "You don't have to," Mako said in a raspy voice that barely sounded familiar. "I know you don't like hugs." Ray's answer was to hold Makato tighter. I know you do. She pulled back just enough to catch Mako's eye, and Mako saw a reflection of her own tears swimming there. I know. With Ray's understanding, with Ray herself, the final piece clicked into place, and Mako finally gave herself permission, and her grief bubbled through her and spilled out. She sucked in a ragged breath and nearly choked it out again as she folded into Ray's embrace. Her tears finally burned her eyes, and her cheeks and her body began to tremble so badly she wasn't sure she would be able to stay on her feet. She didn't need to try. They were all there, surrounding her, holding her. She wrapped one arm around Usagi and Ray, the other around Ami and Minako, and cried. She cried for the angry and lonely little girl who had been forced to grow up too soon. She cried for the young woman she had become, forced to wonder if she was making them proud, because she could never know. Take care of yourself, had been her parents' final wish to her, as they left for a trip from which she would never come home. Sobbing into Usagi's shoulder, Mako knew she was doing just that. She cried for the family she had lost, and clutched to her the family she had found. Okay? I will give every single person who is listening to this a few minutes to calmly leave the room and cry your eyes out. And then you can come back and put down in the comment section below how evil I am for breaking your little hearts or ruining your mornings. Thank you! And good night. I promise next time I'll do a rip-roaring lemon comedy about, I don't know, Santa's getting boned by Riddler or something. Good night.